Gentlemen, welcome to the show. The national spotlight is on you. Thank you for accepting our invitation to come here and discuss this very important issue.
Welcome. Thank you.
Almost 1 week after this nasty accident, what are we doing to avoid another catastrophe of this magnitude? How can we, Winston, ensure that there is no repeat of this kind of accident that kills scores?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kamara, and good evening, viewers. First of all, allow me to thank you for hosting us tonight, but also to take this opportunity on behalf of the ministry to convey our deepest sympathies and condolences to the bereaved families and to those who are injured and still admitted in hospitals. It was a sad moment, and we all sympathize with the families at this trying moment. May the souls of those who departed rest in eternal peace. Mr. Kamara, the question you put is not new. We've been dealing with this issue of road carnage. There have been challenges, and these challenges we have been handling them over time. As a ministry, as a government, of course, we have what we call a legal framework for the country in terms of road safety. In 2014, government or cabinet passed a road safety policy to guide the sector in terms of investments, in terms of addressing issues like accidents. Among these, of course, they will have what we call the road safety management. We have issues of roads, better roads. We have issues of safer vehicles. We have issues of post-crash care. And these have been translated into what we call the United Nations Decade of Action, which Uganda is a signatory, and the target is to reduce road crashes by 50% by the year 2020. We've translated these pillars into the new law now, the amendment of the Traffic and Road Safety Act, because since 1998, of course, there have been emerging issues which the country is trying now to grapple with in the areas of road safety. We have now incorporated these. In July last year, Cabinet passed the drafting principles for the bill, and the minister thereafter instructed the first parliamentary council to draft the bill. The bill now is ready. We've already obtained the certificate of financial implication from Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and also the certificate of compliance from the first parliamentary council. We hope in 1 week's time we should be ready to submit back the bill to cabinet to address a number of these issues that we think should be addressed. The other important thing which I want to put to the viewers is that road safety is a responsibility of everybody. It's a shared responsibility. Government has to play a part. If, for example, roads are constructed, signposts, or what you call road furniture, is put in place. Now, the public has a responsibility of ensuring that actually the road furniture is protected. What is happening, you'll find in most cases, some of the new roads, where the road furniture has been erected, it is the public actually coming to vandalize this road furniture. And it's a big challenge, Anna Kamara, which we are trying to grapple with. Whereas we are looking at other aspects of road safety like enforcement, sensitization. Now, we also want to take it to the public that there should be that responsibility of ensuring that the road furniture should be protected. It guides every motorist. So we call that contributory negligence. Because you, as a road user, you have a responsibility of ensuring that the road is safe for everybody. And this takes me to what you call the 3 Ks. The 3 Ks, we have a category which we call I don't know. These expect government and other key stakeholders to sensitize and bring this information to them to understand how to use the road. We have the I don't know, no, I know, and I can't. This is the category, for instance, you know how to drive, but you know that if you drive, say, at night, most likely you will engage in an accident, or you will not be safe actually to reach the next destination. Now, the biggest group is the I know, but I don't want.
Okay, let me go to Dr. Kasima here, because when we see the increasing number, because that some statistics are saying we lose about 10 people daily every year, and that is the highest, one of the highest rates in the world. And I know you've done so many things as traffic police. Is the problem really more on the indiscipline of us Ugandans, or the road designs, or the vehicles that we drive?
Thank you. I also add my voice on Commissioner Transport and the safety regulation to send our heartfelt condolences to the families, relatives of those who perished in the accident, and those, the other accidents that have happened before, because it is not only that one. As you have stated, we get accidents which are fatal every day. To answer your question, it is a combination of all those factors you have highlighted. Even when the UN Decade of Action was formulated, they looked at different pillars. And if these pillars were to be put in place, implemented, there would be a reduction. And the UN Decade of Action requires member states to reduce accidents by 50%. They are not talking about 0%. So I don't see a possibility of accidents reducing to 0. It is a combination. Poor, I mean, safer. We want safer vehicles. Do we have them in Uganda? Probably no. I don't think the vehicles we have, the majority of vehicles and motorcycles we have, qualify to be called safe. Do we have good roads from enforcement point of view? No. The accidents we normally get here affect largely the most vulnerable group of society, and that is pedestrians. Over about 60% of all people who die in our roads here, actually in the region, in East Africa, are pedestrians. Are they safe when they are walking? No, they are not safe. If they are not safe, what should be done? Make their walking safer, separate, construct pedestrian facilities, crossing points. So it is a combination of factors. It is not one factor that is raising carnage in Uganda.
Dr. Naimanye, I could imagine one of the things that you could do as civil society or as Road Safety Council is really to sensitize the road users, both the drivers, the pedestrians, or even in schools. How far have we gone in the move of sensitization?
I think, again, just like Commissioner Katushave and Dr. Kasima, I also pass on my heartfelt condolences to those who perished and those who perish daily on our roads. As Road Safety Council, we emphasize road safety awareness, which is quite low in Uganda. And I mean, I also said our roads actually, like the one where the accident occurred, is not that bad. It's a good road. However, the main issue tends to be driver behavior. I think the driver licensing system, we need to work hard on it. I mean the testing, the training, testing and certification is really lacking to some extent. I did manage to speak to some of the drivers on this route, some bus drivers, and some of them tell me they do return routes for these long journeys, which is quite abysmal. You can't imagine that, because after 3 hours of driving, your concentration drops. And some cases, you know, I mean, they even their lights, you know, if I drive along this route at night, you know, all these buses and trucks have got, you know, headlamps with their full beams on, and you can't see them. So, I mean, the road is good, but then the drivers themselves, the behavior is quite lacking. You know, they need to, it all comes down to driver behavior. I mean, if you don't know how to dim your lights and you put on full blast, the full beam, then you're bound to miss something. You're bound to cause glare. You know, I don't know how often they have their eyes tested. So you know, we normally tend to say it's always speed, but speed is secondary. The primary cause is lack of the education, lack of the appropriate training, whereby someone is not trained to be on the road.
So, Dr. Kasima, how can we get the appropriate training so that we know you have a driver on the Ugandan road who is skilled, who knows what he's doing, because he's carrying in a bus about 60 people, and these 60 healthy Ugandans contributing to the economy. And if their lives are in his hands, he had better be trained.
I would have imagined that you would have asked that question to the officer concerned from the ministry, because me, from the Uganda police,
Maybe he's
we are charged
fearing.
with enforcement. I have the answer, but I think you...
I thought when they are getting also permits, they have to go through police, don't they?
But you are talking about driver training. You have to be trained first. For instance, the current driving schools we have in Uganda don't have any standards. From driving schools, the so-called driving schools, to the testing center, yes, there are mistakes there, but you are blaming the police IOVs for testing. Have you facilitated them in the region? Isn't it Uganda without any testing facility? Are you comparing us with Botswana or advanced countries? In other countries, there are facilities there. There is no interface between an applicant for a driving permit and the one who is testing. You have, say, you go and test, not even facilitating with the vehicles or motorcycles to test these people. So that is why you are I said from the onset that there is a combination of factors. We should not blame, and when we are here, we should not start blaming each other. That it is not bad roads, it is indiscipline. To me, I've been this thing for quite some time. It is a combination of factors. The latest research that was published recently from Netherlands talks about making it difficult, for instance, for vehicles to collide head-on. If like in Uganda, most of the accidents we get are head-on collisions. And like other countries, because roads are separate.
Do you carry
Make it very difficult. If you know Masaka Road has a black spot, make it very difficult for vehicles to collide head-on, separate lanes. European countries, I don't see any road or these advanced countries that are single lanes. This one is going this side, another one is coming, no lights at night. It becomes difficult. There will be accidents. Like philosophers have contended, as long as there is society, and since society started existing, there has been crime. And crime will be there. By extension, accidents are part of crime, as long as society exists. But when there is crime, how do we deal with this? For pedestrians, in this latest research, pedestrians are the most vulnerable road users in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa. Make it very difficult for people to knock them. Let there be safe pedestrian facilities. So it is not only that drivers are poorly trained. Yes, they are poorly trained. But also let us make it difficult for people to knock each other, especially these head-on. If you head their side knocks and rear knocks, they are not as dangerous as head-on collision. So, poor driver training, poor driver testing, what do we do? What are the commitments?
Mr. Winston Katushabe, he's suggesting building roads maybe that can make it difficult for vehicles to have a head-on collision. In other words, to build dual carriage highways. I have seen the government struggling to build a 21-kilometer dual carriage from Bweyogerere to Busega, and it has taken forever. Do we have what it takes to build dual carriage in a long distances of these highways?
I think the commitment is there. Right now, there are a number of flagship projects. Kampala Jinja, Kampala Bombo, Mpigi Busega. All these are aimed at ensuring that the issue of Dr. Kasima is trying to raise is taken care of. Dual carriage, yes, in most cases, of course, it will address some of these issues which Dr. Kasima is raising. But as he said, you have a combination of factors when it comes to road safety. Even when the roads are good, the attitude of individuals is key. For example, even when the road is narrow, right now, if you ask an engineer, he will tell you what is the design speed for our roads in Uganda. The design speed is 80 kilometers per hour, but you find somebody flying 160. Where are you going? Are you going to heaven? So the attitude here is very key. The public, we shall continue sensitizing the public about behavior change. Motorists should change the way they behave while on road, including pedestrians, like what Dr. Kasima is saying. Actually, some pedestrians, sometimes you will find actually they want to be stubborn. Even when there is a zebra crossing, they feel they can cross where there is no zebra crossing, or even a footbridge. But again, I wanted to comment on the driver training, which Dr. Kasima is saying. Of course, I must say there have been some challenges, but you would agree with me, Kamara, in every process you must start. So Rome was not built in one day. We have now concluded a driver curriculum, national curriculum for all classes of vehicles. We have come up with driving manuals. Yes, we take note because originally actually these driving schools were not even there. There was even no legal framework to regulate these driving schools. Actually, when you look at some of the drivers, maybe in their mid-40s and 50s, and I think at some point they were just being tested without even a driving school. So government has put some effort to make sure that this comes to be realized. I must say, right now, we are even in consultation with the Uganda Police Force. Dr. Kasim, I think, attended this meeting. We want to move a step ahead where we are going to have driver training and testing computerized. If you go to driving school, like you are saying, the driving school now must be interfaced with the Ministry of Works, for example, the Transport Licensing Board, before you get...
But why have you as a ministry presided over the driving schools that Dr. Kasima says actually are of no standard?
No, the standards, we have developed them. And we are saying, you see now, it is not the government investing in this driving school, it is the private sector. And as I've told you, the ministry exists to set standards and ensure that these standards are adhered to. Now,
you're working on the standards now.
We have put the standards in place. The standards are there. And we want to make sure that every driving school complies to these standards. And as I've told you, in the past maybe 10, 15 years, these standards were not, more or less not there. So what we are moving into now is actually to address some of these cases. On the part of the road, you know that the government is moving quite well to have these roads constructed and even maintained to be in good condition.
Okay, Dr. Naimanye, at one point, I saw the police and government trying to enforce speed governors and other road safety regulations. Do you think we have maybe lost the momentum in ensuring these speed governors are really enforced?
Right. I think the best person to answer the issue.
No, because
enforcement.
Yes,
enforcement is Dr. Kasima, but I'll just try to come in there. I think enforcement is a challenge in Uganda, as we know, and efforts are being.
Because you say that you have to answer.
Let him conclude.
Right,
a challenge in what sense?
No. I will not allow him to conclude because he's going on the wrong direction.
Okay, let Dr. Kasima.
Really, I think he has been in Uganda. Is the issue of speed governance an enforcement issue? You are not aware that it was stopped by the ministry concerned? Sincerely speaking, let's take the truth here. It is not an enforcement issue. Is it an enforcement issue? Let's tell the truth when we are here. Because
so Winston,
let me quickly.
So Winston, why did you have to stop?
I don't want to go into the blame game, but let me just quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, speed governors were helping.
Let me quickly.
There was a reason why they put them there.
Can I give the facts? The speed governor regulation is still in force. The challenge is that some of these speed governors, as one of the panelists was trying to put across, is that right now we would call it like the traditional speed governors, where you buy a vehicle and you want to fit that gadget. Now, we've been having challenges in trying to enforce this. Number one, when the statutory instrument came into force, we started this and even approved the suppliers. And we trained some of the police officers. I think Dr. Kasima was in the UN then. Now, the engineers who we trained to be able to detect the tampered speed governors are no longer in traffic. Some of them were either reintegrated in the force and making it very difficult actually to enforce this. Number two, we started getting complaints from motorists. I
don't understand.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
The head of the traffic directorate is saying the ministry removed those.
Let me finish. I thought you had given me
governors.
Let me
and
finish.
for you are saying they are still in force.
Let me
so
finish.
Who is telling us the truth on this?
No, let me finish, because I'm telling you that even right now, if you ask buses, they will show you certificates fitted, especially these which are built in manufactured or assembled in Kenya. The only issue is that monitoring of this speed governor, because once they know they have passed a roadblock, the driver will automatically tamper with the speed governor and they move at a speed which is not acceptable. What I'm trying to say is the poor quality of these speed governors, because some individuals even started importing fake speed governors. We got complaints from the public. We have reviewed this and we have recommended. And if you have been actually following the news, you have seen Cabinet has even approved that let's move into digital speed limiters. Because you have to move with technology. The speed limiter may not actually even require an engineer to monitor this. Once you have fitted this speed governor into the vehicle, you only need to be on your computer and monitor the speed. If the driver tampers with the speed governor or over speeds, you are able even to deactivate the engine. So what I'm trying to say is we are trying to see how best we can improve this. We have already got bracing from Cabinet, and our minister made a statement in Parliament. So we are there, we are moving. So all these challenges will have to
Dr. Kasima, there's a prevalent problem on the highways, and perhaps this played a role in the Kiryandongo accident. You find sometimes tractors have no taillights or reflectors, and this is a question of enforcement, sir.
Yeah, true. But before I answer that, I think Engineer Naimanye now has known that sometimes he blames the police with no basis.
Okay.
Yeah. And you have lived in Uganda at least, and you have been working in Ministry of Works, you should know some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, we have less than 1,500 traffic officers in Uganda. And of course, during this century, we should be thinking about managing and monitoring traffic using IT, but not these traditional means. We can't be everywhere. We are not God, that we are everywhere. For instance, we are in Chiriandongo, we are in Dima, we are in Mijera, we are in Kafu, we are in Ruero. We can't be everywhere. Like these tractors are in these farms, they drive for a small distance and disappear. They cannot pass any checkpoint. Sometimes vehicles break down. And I want to confess, we have limited capacity to tow these vehicles away. And it is not our core mandate, by the way. Recently, UNRWA passed a regulation to remove broken down vehicles and fine those people who abandon them on the road. So we need funding to be able to be equipped with towing away vehicles. Currently, we rely on these ramshackled breakdowns around, and on some roads you cannot find them there. So that's why I'm saying, to address these problems of road safety and reduce these accidents should be in a coordinated, integrated, holistic way. But blaming traffic police will not address. So we are going back to our comfort zones.
Dr. Naimanye, so where is that coordinated, integrated, way that from the Road Safety Council and all the players that we can bring sanity on our roads?
I think thank you, Mr. Kamara, and thank you, Dr. Kasima. I think the issue of enforcement, we're all aware that enforcement is challenging, especially at night. During the day, we do have some level of enforcement on some key routes. At night, it's quite challenging. And yes, right, the number of officers are few, but they tend to be in traffic management on Kampala roads, unfortunately, because of the traffic congestion. So the more, if we put more on these key routes, it will be helpful. As in terms of Road Safety Council, we're trying to create road safety awareness and bring the road safety issues into context. For example, our calculations show that that the cost of an accident, a fatal accident, is about 70 times GDP per capita. For Uganda, using 2016 figures, GDP per capita is $615 US dollars, and if you multiply that by 70, and then multiply that by the 23 people who perished, if you do that calculation, you find that actually that single fatal accident in Chiriandongo cost, in theory, about 3.6 billion Uganda shillings. So some element of either madness of the driver or something, or carelessness of the tractor owner has set us back by 3.6 billion Uganda shillings in one incident. That excludes the cost of the medical care, excludes the cost of the vehicles themselves, and so on. So the issue is to bring road safety awareness at the forefront. Had 22 people maybe died from a different thing, maybe, I don't know, I won't say maybe terrorism, it will be headline news every day. You'll be seeing that profile of all those who perished every day. But now, 1 week later, the story is dying away. So road safety awareness is down people's priorities.
Okay, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, I'll be asking, maybe beginning with Dr. Kasima, because we saw some intervention that worked. Masaka Road had become like a moving morgue, killing people almost on daily. In fact, people were even thinking that there was an evil spirit on Masaka Road. Until you came out with some innovations, and that stopped. Can that be replicated all over Uganda? We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and my guests tonight are Dr. Stephen Kasima, Mr. Winston Katushabe, and Dr. Andrew Naimanye, and we're talking road safety. I know sometime in 2016, I suppose, there was a big problem on Masaka Road because people were dying daily. In fact, even pastors and reverends and imams, we were going to pray on that road thinking maybe there was a devil or something of that sort. But you came out with an operation called Fika Salama, and it worked wonders, and the accidents reduced. Can that be replicated on all the major roads, and we see sanity and reduction of carnage on the Ugandan roads?
Thank you. I'm happy now you can also praise us for at least the Fika Salama. Because if we are to do SWOT analysis, you would find that Uganda police has prevented many fatalities on the road. We are only looking at those we have not managed to present. But if we were not there, how many people would die? You remember when we left few traffic lights for about 4 hours. You know what happened?
December 23rd.
Yeah, so at least people should know that we are sacrificing.
So you wanted to teach us a lesson?
No, we are not teaching you a lesson.
Because you gave us a jump for
we
8 hours
to
in
see
Kampala.
whether we are a problem, because many motorists were condemning us that we caused jams, yet traffic lights were there. So we say, let's see maybe when we withdraw whether the jams will be faster. But you know what happened. So you have seen policemen in rain. Some have perished in accidents, by the way. You know, when traffic officers die and they are not senior, it's not a story. The other day we lost a traffic officer at Bakuri, blowing a whistle, controlling the jam, and they killed him. We lost one in Kampirinjisa, Rowero, and several others. So don't think we are not at risk. We are. Recently, there is a research that was conducted by NEMA, and most of our traffic officers are now sick, especially those who stand on these traffic lights and exhume these dangerous fumes from these unsafe vehicles. They are sick. Aren't we patriotic? So that initiative of Fika Salama, yes, but is it sustainable? Really, should we embrace Fika Salama for the next 20 years? Or should graduate to more, what word can I use? Intelligent-led traffic management. We are on all routes. We are even on the northern route. We are there. But what happens between these checkpoints? We need more resources. We need motor vehicles to patrol in between. Currently, we have limited capacity. We don't have any, for instance, any traffic vehicles fitted with speed guns to be able to move long distances and apprehend speeding offenders. We are relying on few handheld speed guns, and these people know where we are. So it is a bit difficult. We are trying, we have the zeal, we have the commitment, but without support of everyone, in terms of supporting us with resources, in terms of improving roads, to me, I still advocate that we must separate roads, especially on black spots. And they are well known. Kampala Masaka Road should be dual carriage to avoid this head-on, to make it difficult for people to overtake recklessly in dangerous corners.
Winston, we have a jungle practice exhibited by powerful government shots and the wealthy. Many have lead cars. What hurry are they in when we continue to see Uganda grow at a slow pace? Who is going to exhibit decorum on roads when the big shots really, with all respect, behave like hoodlums?
Okay, Mr. Kamara, I want to first start with what Dr. Kasima has raised, because it is an important point, having police traffic officers standing at traffic lights, and at the end of the day they find themselves suffering from
Respiratory
cancer and respiratory infection. So I think the implication of this is that we should move very, very, very fast, as he said, to have the integrated traffic management system. The challenge, I think, which I see in Kampala right now, like he said, and I think that's why when they were moved, that day there was a problem. If you look at Mukwano, now they have signalized what we call Punjani, the Chitugum roundabout, which was a roundabout anyway. Now you skip that, you go to, what is this more, after Punjani, going to Garden City. So Garden City is not signalized. So you jump that, you move to Fairway. Fairway now has been improved. From Fairway, Murago roundabout, not synchronized. So the effect of this is that actually these points don't read each other. So you release vehicles from Mukwano, move very fast from Punjani, or what you call Chitugum roundabout, get stuck at Garden City. So at no point will you be able actually to determine the flow of traffic within the city. So I wanted to make that point, that actually the best way to get Kasima's men out of that, and we have an intelligent traffic management system, will help, so that you deal with the command center and you can be able to tell which vehicles form a long queue and can be easily released to address some of these issues. Now, today, I started with this attitude. And I said, whether he's the director of traffic and road safety, I've not seen him with a lead car. Maybe he should be having one. I don't know whether maybe he doesn't have it. But what I'm trying to say is attitude. Because even when you have the driver, you should tell the driver that do not actually push. Actually, I wanted to mention it to you, Kamara. The current strategy you are using, keep your lane, I think it has not brought any effect to the general public. Maybe you should use the shame list on TVs. Because what is happening is that now it is normal practice to somebody reading the newspaper and say, oh, this vehicle was getting out of its lane. I don't know whether you have evaluated this. To me, it has not had, I mean, we have not had any
we are dealing with issues of culture and behavior,
yes,
and whatever. So you have to keep a sustained campaign for some time for us to have some results, I suppose.
So, but in terms of impact, by this time we should have seen some people behaving. But I have seen it, I think, in Kenya, where they use name and shame. You will see actually a vehicle, government vehicles on TV. Tomorrow you will not do that again. Maybe you need to change. And
Dr. Kasima, with all these lead cars, maybe bring us to understand who is supposed to have the lead cars, because there seem to be so many. And maybe they also contribute to the congestion. And also, now everybody is going with all these lights, including vehicles that are, private vehicles. You find they have put all these different lights. And I think they also contribute to, they confuse our eyes as we drive. Should everybody be putting all those fancy lights, green and yellow and whatever, at different designs?
You are very correct. The current law, the current Traffic and Road Safety Act 1998, has a big list of categories that enjoy those privileges. Unlike other countries, in the neighboring countries, it is only the head of state and emergency vehicles. And the word emergency is clearly defined in the act. But the first act, the act had few categories. Then they put another regulation, my colleagues from the Ministry of Works and Transport, and added others. I don't know for what reason. And even never defined what emergency is. Good enough, there is a new bill, which, the act is being amended, and when they were consulting us, I pointed it clearly that they should reduce the categories of people entitled to these lead cars, emergency vehicles, and clearly define what an emergency is, as per the dictionary definition. Because somebody is going to office, is late, he puts on a siren. Is that an emergency? No, it isn't. An emergency is a situation. If you don't react, it will result in danger or death. If you go to office late or you miss your flight, unless you are going for medical attention, will you die? So this one is also making life difficult for traffic officers. Because from all directions you hear sirens, you don't know who is who, because of the mistakes that were made by legislators in the who formulated the Traffic Act 1998, plus the regulation, the new regulation, I think of 2008. So in this new bill, I think members of parliament should reduce.
Sometimes you find just a single car, a Land Cruiser, it has its own siren inbuilt in there, and the guy is just alone. He's
that is that Tudy was talking about. Because there are so many, they are confusing us. You hear a siren, you think it is a VIP coming, yet it is this private individual. But we are getting them and removing those sirens and prosecuting. But
What about the flickering lights everywhere I see everybody, including now even the borders?
actually, those are supposed to be addressed by this SGS if they had allowed it to do its work. Because really, we have a lot on our table. We must manage traffic jam. Like now, all my policemen are in Namugongo. There are many special duties. We are on Fika Sarama. You want us to go to all roads, including Moroto. Then that's why I talked about holistic and coordinated, integrated way of doing things. If we had automated testing centers, every vehicle that should go there, without fulfilling the standards, they would handle it from there. So, one, the act must be changed to limit people who are authorized to have emergency. It will be the head of state and emergency vehicles that are performing emergency duties.
Maybe, Mr. Kamara, let me comment on this. Yes, I know Dr. Kasima is saying we have given, there is a catalog of people, but I don't think that is true. And
should I mention them?
I must actually remind him that at one point actually he had the press conference and he read the list and he said, if you don't belong to this category, you are not entitled to have what you call a lead car, or for that matter, use a car which has a siren. So, as we even try to amend this, because we had discussed, he even brought it to our attention. We said, now you go full blast. My view would be, even those, as we amend this, even those who are illegally using this, I think still it is his duty to make sure that it is. I agree with him. These emergencies, sometimes you find these vehicles, ambulances, some carrying charcoal, some carrying passengers, and then they push the other vehicles from their rightful lane. So these ones, I think at some point he has tried actually to address this. And I want to encourage him so that we cannot continue lamenting.
Okay, Dr. Naimanye, it is estimated that we lose close to billions of shillings as a result of traffic jam that is largely concentrated in Kampala and its outskirts. When shall we have a permanent solution to this problem? Why can't we have, for instance, build, should I say, a modern tram and we decongest the city permanently?
Thank you for that, Mr. Kamara. Just before I answer that question, I'd like to go back to Dr. Kasima's issue that we need dual carriageways and intelligent traffic management systems. I think we need to come up with some practical solutions. Dual carriageways are very costly if you take account of the land take and so on.
Compared to life?
Well, life is, obviously life is more costly, but
we've been struggling to build just a 21-kilometer dual carriage from Boyogere to Bushaga.
But
it has taken us more than 20 years.
Mr. Kamara, he told us about when one person dies, the cost we lose.
Yes.
When you compare, what is cheaper?
Obviously, building is cheaper, but the gestation period is quite long, and by that time, we'd have lost many more people. What I want is to think about us to consider some quick win solutions, you know, and as Mr. Kashabe said, it's driver behavior and attitude. If people have got the right attitude in driving, if they've got the right testing and training, then most of these issues will be resolved. But even if you build dual carriageways everywhere, I mean, look at Kibuye to Zana roundabout, that section. Still, it's a dual carriageway, but still the way people drive is
but there are no fatal accidents there.
Well,
and before they put it there, we are getting 8 people dead per week.
Yes. I mean, the issue is dual carriageways. The gestation period of the project is quite long, and we need quick win solutions. And the easiest one is road safety awareness and ensuring that the drivers are aware of their behavior. Now, come back to the issue of traffic congestion. It is a busy mo where we are heading to. You know, I did consult KCA this afternoon to get the actual costs, and it is very costly. They could not confirm the figures, but the cost of delay, you know, the time you waste in traffic jam, and the exhausts coming out of the vehicles, you know, no wonder the police officers are falling ill, you know, because of the pollution in Kampala and so on. issues like creating a tram, BRT, the proposal was on the desk at some point, and it was linked to World Bank funding. However, when there were some obstacles, also because the funding of BRT was linked to some other projects, so that one's is stalled, you know. However, we also need to improve the public transport system within the city. Without that, the problem is going to get worse. At some point, it will get to a point whereby you'd rather avoid driving to Kampala and maybe work from home if you can. Because the way it's going now, you know, people are having, you know, to get up at 4 a.m. to beat the traffic congestion or leave office quite early. It is quite serious. And of
Winston, thank you. Winston, with the kind of traffic jam that we see in Kampala, this city cannot compete with other cities like Nairobi or maybe even Kigali, because we have seen major international organizations shift from Kampala or even choose just to go to Nairobi or go to Kigali. Part of it could be what we see. You're spending 3-4 hours in a jam. Kampala cannot compete unless we make it easy for people to travel within the city, in and out.
Now, let me say this. Kampala, in terms of clear outputs, what we need to address now is the issue of travel time. We need to address improved quality of life. You've heard Dr. Nemenya has talked about pollution and Dr. Kasima. 4 key issues I want to comment about to address the issue of traffic jam in Kampala. Infrastructure. And when I talk of infrastructure, I don't only mean roads. Infrastructure goes along with buildings. Now, if you want to know one of the causes of traffic congestion in any city is the building control system. If you have a building with 10 stories and you are supposed to have maybe 100 vehicles parked in the basement and you don't create space for that, all these vehicles are going to park along the road. And of course, this also affects the speed, the travel time. It's one of the biggest challenges as we look at congestion in Kampala. This is one other issue that must be addressed.
But can't you enforce it that the buildings which have been built, so many shopping malls here, now they have turned the basement into also shops. Can't you enforce that what is supposed to be a parking area becomes a parking area?
Good enough now, there is a Building Control Act, and I'm happy that it is now in force. I hope the responsible bodies will now enforce this to make sure that actually there is total compliance. But that is one area, infrastructure, including what Dr. Kasimo was talking about. The city's roads should be for people, not for vehicles. So you should create enough space. I think KCC now is coming up with a good model. The ministry formulated a non-motorized transport policy in 2012. Kampala Capital City Authority has now, I think, gazetted some areas, I think around Namirembe Road as a pilot project, which is good. Number 2, public transport. You must actually make public transport necessary if you are to reduce congestion in the city, so that a few people can use private means, but at a cost. So one of the areas I think also we have to look at is public transport, mass transport. You need to have BRT, as you were saying, but also I want to tell you that we are trying also to address this. That will be my last point. The other one is traffic management. There must be areas of traffic management to be properly managed. What do you want in Kampala? How are people moving in and out of the city? The last one, of course, is enforcement. Like Dr. Kasima said, KCCA, by this time, we expect the institution to have recruited a lot of traffic wardens. So the traffic police should only be augmenting traffic wardens to deal with this traffic. The last one, which I want to mention, Mr. Kamara, is what Naimanya talked about, the quick fix. Right now, I will tell you, Uganda Radio Corporation has a passenger service arrangement with 5 coaches. But I will tell you, the time they started this, on the daily basis, they carry about 1,800 people. Now, 1,800 people converted into taxis. You are talking of 40 taxis taken off. And I must assure you that it is now moving in the right direction. It is now, currently, it is Namamve Kampala, but there are plans to move.
Okay, but Mr. Katushabe, if you bring like 1,000 or 2,000 people from Namamve to Kampala, and maybe at the railway headquarters down here, what is the plan to evacuate those people from the railway? Because you're going to create congestion right in the middle of the city. Because you don't have any massive public transport system that is going to take them to Ntinda, take them to Mengo, or take them to wherever they are going.
But this is what I was trying to explain to you. I am only telling you that if you address the 4 areas, which I think now government is trying to address, KCC is addressing some of these, but also the central government is also addressing some other areas. But as a quick fix, as you try to address this, my point is we are trying to support URC to make sure that as we implement some of these medium-term or long-term projects, then there must be something. You cannot continue lamenting like you're talking of now, pollution. Namamve Kampala, in the medium term, we expect URC now to be introducing Mukono, Kampala Luzira, and then Kampala, Narukorongo, Chenjera, Bujuko. If you have these, and don't ask me, Kamara, that how are people going to get out of the city? Mass transport should not guide you to tell you, get out of the city with a private car. That's why we want to encourage non-motorized transport. You walk.
The worry really is not to get out. When they get in, you cause confusion because you do not have a clear plan of how these people can be evacuated to your different destinations.
Yeah, I know, but I am saying one of the key 4 points I mentioned is public transport. So if you have mass transport, you are talking of actually of multimodal transport. You bring them from Namamve to Kampala. If you introduce a bus system within the city, so somebody will jump out of the train, get into the bus, go to Ntinda. You don't need to bring your car to town, including schools. You don't need to use your cars to drop these children to schools. So these plans are interrelated. But in the meantime, as we try to address the 4 areas, infrastructure, public transport, traffic management, and enforcement, we must look for quick fixes to make sure that the town is manageable.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'll be opening the lines so that you two who is watching this broadcast can be able to call on the numbers are going to be shown on the screen there and tell us what you think, how we can have road safety and also have a solution for the traffic jam in Kampala. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amar and my guests tonight are Dr. Stephen Kasima, Dr. Andrew Naimanye and Mr. Winston Katushabe, and we're discussing road safety. And you know, we have seen the congestion in Kampala, and you have come up with some ideas on how maybe that can reduce the congestion. The impact to some people has not been felt about the railway, that is the train that is bringing people from Namamve to Kampala. But again, there should be some ways on how we can have massive, efficient public transport system within Kampala. Even some of us who are driving, you'd rather leave the vehicle home. If you know I can take a bus and it brings me near to a place of work, why would I have to bother myself driving? But that is not anywhere near.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Kamara, what happens is that the government, what the government is looking at is to see how to come up with what you call satellite towns. To be able, if you want to go to Kampala and shop, you don't need actually to come to the city center. You've seen areas like Namugongo, Charwajara, where there is called a supermarket in Rubowa. You would imagine if all these people were coming to town to shop, there would be chaos. So the satellite towns are very key to address the issue of congestion, because it addresses now the movement of people from one place to another. So it's very key. 2, as I said about the issue of buildings, Kampala has about 5,300 parking spaces. And right now we have over 400,000 vehicles. So you can imagine what that means to the city center. The city has about 2,100 schools. KCCA in Kampala capital city, we have about 2,100 schools. About 79 are managed by KCCA. Now, this tells you, if you go to Sapporo, Akagwa, you go to Green Hill, you go to Aga Khan, so you can see the number of pupils. And if these schools, maybe they were spread over in the satellite towns, then some of these issues would be addressed. Talk of roadside markets. You go to Karerwe. In the morning, you will start negotiating with the trucks which are off-roading, Matoke and the rest. So some of these areas would need a quick, pragmatic approach to address. In terms of like street parking, as we said, you can only now address it with the strict traffic management rules so that you can get some vehicles off the road. The introduction of mass transport is key. It may not necessarily remove traffic congestion, but it will minimize and address areas of congestion. I'm told,
Dr. Andrew, that in some places you just can't go to school. They'll ask you where do you reside, so that they can advise you on where you can take your child. What is happening here that all of us want the best schools. You stay in Kawempe, you want to come to Green Hill. You stay in Kyalwajala, you want to come to Green Hill. And so the parents with our children, we cause traffic jam in the morning because we're all looking for just one good school somewhere. And I'm not saying Green School is the best, but so the question is, wherever there's a good school, we all converge from different directions, and then we create a jam.
Yeah, Mr. Kamara, that's very right in that there's a lot of crisscrossing traffic, especially in the morning, taking kids to school. But ideally, if we had a level playing field, education-wise, the difference is that, like in the developed world, mainly in Europe, and even in the Americas, is that the education system is more or less the same, whichever school you go to. But because of our system whereby we've got different standards, then that creates a challenge. But Mr. Kumara, I would like to just go back to the issue of road safety. That's really the core of tonight, in that we need to quantify the cost of road accidents. And the UN did a study and put the cost at $1.2 billion. Now, if I talk about the GDP of Uganda in 2016, it was US dollars 24.5 billion. Now, our economic growth is about 5.5% this year. So we were supposed to grow the economy by 1.2 billion or so. But at the same time, the cost of accidents this year is going to be the same. So the economy is growing, but the cost of accidents equates to economic growth. So we are making negative progress because of the cost of accidents. So before we talk about the congestion moving around, we need to appreciate that the issue of accidents is quite critical. They're always important when you lose your beloved one. However, if other people don't die, you don't know them, end of story.
Even the accidents are also happening in Kampala, the borders. If you go on the northern bypass, almost every day, they will be bringing somebody at Mulago National Referral Hospital almost every 10 minutes. And that is impacting on the budget of the Ministry of Health.
What Naimanya is trying to tell you, these are direct costs which you can compute, but they are also indirect costs. They are what we call warm-blooded costs. The grief, the pain. If Kamara loses a relative in an accident, the people who will now be in the village at the VG affect productivity. That sometimes is not computed into this loss. The people who will drive from, say, Kampala to go to your home village and the whole day of working. So when you look at this, currently, I think Uganda on an annual basis is losing, based on our GDP of 2016, we are losing about 4 trillion in a year, which is actually equivalent of the allocation of the budget for our sector. So you can see the type of loss we do have, and this is very, 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 very important to the country. The issue of road safety, I want to call everybody that we should actually look for a way of addressing issues.
If you could take a pause there, because I want to give you the provisional results by the Electoral Commission. Official provisional results by Electoral Commission gives FDC's Betty Muzanira a lead with 22,950 votes against NRM's Winnie Matsiko at 17,944 votes from 92 polling stations out of 280. Muzanira leads with a difference of 5,006 votes. Tallying continues, and these are just provisional results and are not final. They are from the Electoral Commission.
So, I mean, as was putting it, the issue of winning the road safety champion and the cost of accidents is quite huge. You know, to put in context, our economic growth, what we lose as a sort of road accidents, is equivalent to economic growth. So we need to prioritize this as a very, very, very important issue. As Mr. Chavez said, the actual budget for the road sector is equivalent to the cost of accidents. So this is quite horrendous.
Okay, I think I'm going to open the lines now so that for those who have been watching this broadcast can call and tell us what they think. Maybe they've got some ideas. What I know, almost every Ugandan somehow has been affected by the road accidents. Either you've lost a close relative, a friend, or somebody, a workmate, or somebody you know. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello, Kamara. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Maxwell, calling from Entebbe.
Maxwell, you're on air.
Yes, glad to see the gentleman on giving their views.
Okay.
Straight to the point. One, I'll start with you, Mr. Kamara. Sorry to go for the journalists. I think the journalists or the media houses are a big problem to Uganda's carnage. One, they react to what they hear on the news rather than investigating. So your part is done. Then the other gentleman from the engineering section, surely. There is a 2 feet. Actually, if you're the one an engineer that side, and you stand on the side, what they call a shoulder, where in case you have a problem with your car, you just drive towards the shoulder, park your vehicle, and create space for the oncoming traffic. Right? If you stand there yourself, I think you won't last even a minute. If a bus is going to cross a lorry. Then back to the traffic officer. I thank you so much for your views. One, you have the resources. If only you could react and stop this business of, oh, so and so sky is coming, so it's above the law. Take off the number of these people who are on the side, who make the double lines where they are not supposed to be lying. Take off the number plates, give him a fine, give a percentage to the officer who is issuing the fine. You get the resources, you get the fuel to fuel your cars, you create DMTs, then the gentleman in the commissioner. Planning, really? With the vehicles that are in Kampala and Uganda are passing on the Pretoria, Johannesburg road in an hour. And you say we have a lot of vehicles? Surely, Commissioner? I don't think so. What you are supposed to do, plan and allow the police officer to do his job. Reinforce the law. Give him space. And stop saying that, oh, it is poor driving. No.
Okay, looks like we have lots of caller there online from Entebbe, but you had already made your points. Thank you very much. I'm going to pick 2 or 3 more callers, and that then the panelists can, my guests here can be able to respond. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello, this is Andy from Nalia.
Yes, you're on air. A caller from Nalia. What's your name once again?
Yeah, Andy from Nalia.
Andy in Nalia, you're on air.
Yeah, thank you for your views. It goes to planning. People are wasting a lot of money that they are going to benchmark. For sure, go to our neighbors, Kenya. Uhuru has just been awarded as being the best roadworks in Africa, breaking a whole estate. But ministers are running, benchmarking Addis Ababa, benchmarking Kenya, benchmarking, doing what? it is planning. For example, Commissioner, if you can just drive tomorrow, come to Nalia roundabout, Nalia Chalwajala. That road was supposed to be wide, but it is a corridor. And we watched it being constructed. No one talks. That is from Nalia, not from Nalia. That roundabout of Gender going up to Theta. But that road was supposed to be wide, and it's a corridor. But everyone watched it being constructed. Now when it's finished, they are thinking of re-breaking. If you go to Kafu, exactly from Kafu up to Bodo, is a different road. You see the change. But from Kampala to Kafu, like they are saying, cannot even stand near the shoulders. And we watched it being done. Please, I think we better become serious. Rwanda is coming here to benchmark us. Take out our policies. If things are bad, remove the seat like Tanzania did, take it to Nakasongola, like Nigeria did. I think we can do that and save ourselves.
Thank
but
you.
Let's not deceive ourselves that we are working.
Thank you, Andy, calling from Nalia, and very passionate about the issues he's trying to talk about today, and he's not happy also. I have another call online. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Professor Wilson Muhwezi.
Yes, sir. Professor Wilson Muhwezi on air, sir.
I lost my wife in Gagabat.
Oh, sorry.
And we buried her on Sunday.
Oh, no.
And the funeral service, I really was very angry with the police. I was very angry with my friend Katshabe. You have to do something. I'm hurting. My children lost a mother. I lost a wife. You have to do something about our road. I am not working. I'm on compassionate leave. As you said, the cost is massive. I can't work. Over 10,000 people came to bury my wife. That day they drove their cars. They did not work. What are you talking about? Please do something.
Professor Muhwezi there. It's very, very touching, very emotional. I don't know even what to add there now. Let me just take another call online and then we can respond at once. I have a... Hello? Okay, I'm going to drop that and pick another call. I have a call online. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Kamara.
Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from? Looks like it is causing an interruption, some kind of I have to, let me pick another call.
Hello?
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Nsamba Samuel.
Nsamba Samuel.
From Chengera.
From Chengera, you're on the air, sir. Okay. We've had another issue there. I think a technical hitch. I'm just going to try one more and then... Hello?
Yes.
Good evening, sir. What's...
Sam Ali from Busabala.
Sam Ali from Busabala.
Yes, sir.
You're on air.
Yes, Mr. Kamala. Thanks for bringing me those.
Okay. You're welcome. We have a technical issue there. Unfortunately, we can't have a healthy communication, a proper communication, phone interaction with the callers. Maybe even our time is running out. So let me begin with you, Winston, to respond and also make your concluding remark.
Yeah, let me start with the last caller, Professor Winston, who is actually my good friend. Again, as I started, I would like to really sympathize and condole with him. You know, last year, he lost a son who was going to the university along Gogo bypass. He was knocked by a vehicle and died on spot. Unfortunately, the Gaga accident in Chiriandongo, the wife was among the dead. it was so touching. Actually, my own relative is the one, because she happens to know more about some of the relatives of Winston Muhwezi. She's the one who actually went to the hospital to confirm. So I know what Winston is going through, like any parent, like any father, and I feel really sorry. But like he has actually appealed to government, we'll have to look at every other aspect, and I would like really to appeal to Ugandans that the message of Muhwezi is very key, that we should all take it upon ourselves. If you are a driver on the road, please have respect. You have a responsibility of respecting other road users. If you're a driver of public transport, you are driving a bus, you are driving a taxi, or even a car, please have time to forgive and allow people to cross. I think I don't have words for Professor Winston Muhwezi, being a personal friend and losing two family people within a space of 1 year. It is very, 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 very unfortunate, and I'm sorry about this. Now, on the issue of Ande from Nari and Maxwell, we've taken note of the areas you are raising about planning, and this is the way to go. We are trying to engage all the authorities, Kampala Capital City, and the Uganda National Roads Authority, to see that the issues which we are raising are put into consideration. I wouldn't want to talk about the other issue of the media. I think, Kamara, you'll have to. My final message is, one, as I said from the beginning, Mr. Kamara, is road safety is a shared responsibility. Please, let's be responsible while using our roads. Let's be sympathetic, especially to the kids. In the morning when I'm driving, dropping my children, I see people even at the zebra crossing. When you stop, you see somebody trying to push you just because you have given way to the children to cross, or even other pedestrians. So please, our message is we are coming. We are coming, and we have already discussed now with Kasima. If there were some gaps somewhere, we are going to step up this and ensure that actually every Ugandan is safe on our road.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kasima. Your response and your concluding remark.
Thank you. I entirely agree with Maxwell, especially the point he has noted concerning us as traffic police. We are going to implement that on these so-called big shots in government who think that they can commit traffic offenses and go away with it. I agree with Ande and Professor Winston.
Yeah.
Of course, as we sit here in the studio, some people are dying in accidents, not only in Uganda, but throughout the world. Hopes and dreams are being destroyed, lives shattered, and families robbed of their dear ones. I think these deaths should energize governments to do something and say enough is enough. Time to act should be now. No more empty commitments. We should make roads safe. We should have safer vehicles. We should enhance road enforcement. We should enhance road safety awareness. We should coordinate.
Dr. Kasima, there's that issue of border crisscrossing everywhere.
Yes.
Sometimes you just see him on your left. You see him
should
on your
we,
right,
for instance, be having borders in Kampala? Time to act is now. Are border necessary in Kampala? Probably not. Because actually, about 60% of all the crashes are caused by them. Many of them have died. I don't know if we don't do something, whether in the next 10 years we shall be having riders, because they are dying more than even the passengers they are carrying. Time to act is now. Okay. It is not only enforcement, but it is also regulation. That is my conclusion.
Dr. Andrew, thank you very much. Dr. Andrew Naimanye, your your response and concluding remark.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kamara. And again, my commiseration and condolences to those who lost their dear ones in the Gaga accident and other accidents. Sometime beginning of this year, we launched the Road Safety Performance Review for Uganda. This document was prepared on behalf of the ministry, and everything that Uganda needs to do is actually in there. But we just need to implement this Road Safety Performance Review. And I'll just pick up some of the key issues, which are strengthening the National Road Safety Council and also having a road safety champion for Uganda at high political level. At the moment, there's no road safety champion. And the other issue as well is that people, the drivers, need to improve their attitudes and driver behavior. I mean, if you drive and when you pull your handbrake, it makes that funny noise, that means that you need to go back to, to driving school and improve your driving skills. Or if you do dry wheeling, the wheels are, in one place and the wheels, you're moving your steering wheel. That means there's something lacking your driver testing. So ultimately, it's the driver attitudes. Until you change driver behavior, the carnage, unfortunately, is going to increase.
Thank you very much.
Before you close,
yes.
Can I give you a copy which you will be using to...
Okay.
Yeah.
The National Road Safety Policy
yeah.
for June 2017. And
even that one might be a
Road Safety Performance Review Uganda.
I hope we are going to implement this.
That's why we have given, because they
somebody challenged us, but I think we, as the media, at least here at NTV Uganda, we must have seen something called the Twedeco, and I'm sure that has maybe helped. You must have seen something called Stay in Your Lane. So yes, we could do more, but that's what we have tried to do. And when something tragic happens, we'll try to respond to also react to the tweet. But there have been those programs, Twedeco and Stay in Your Lane campaigns. Mr. Winston Katshabe, Dr. Kasima, and Dr. Naimanyi, thank you very much. We appreciate your insights on the matter, and all of you have been a part of this program. Good night, and God bless Uganda.